When did you get your first internship?
High school.
All right, so this is Khan. He's a dude that interned at Facebook, Amazon, Bloomberg, American Express, Workiva. He attends Arizona State University. He's a senior. I met this dude at some coding competition. Him and his partner came in first place. Me and my partner came in third place, so scrubs.
Pretty good.
He has a new grad offer at 2 Sigma. So awkward, dude. So if there's a high school student right now, maybe he's in 11th grade, and he wants to absolutely crush it in the internship game in college, what advice would you give him as just like a map or like a pathway into getting into internship like this?
I personally think it's not that difficult. It's a very simple process. There's no trick to it. You just do leak code questions, do a lot of leak code questions, go to the career fairs early, present yourself nicely, have a strong resume, make it well formatted, apply to as many companies as possible. Just stay connected online on subreddits like CS Career Questions and keep track of opportunities as they arise. And eventually you'll get the initial offer, and from there you can begin to build up and eventually reach companies like Facebook or Google. And I mean, there's no trick to it. That's it. It's not like something that requires an incredibly high intelligence. You just do leak code questions, eventually build up the knowledge base and figure out the patterns, and eventually you'll be able to pass the interviews.
Okay. I had such a great follow-up question.
I had a follow-up statement, but I forgot it too.
How many leak code do you think you have to do to pass Fang interviews? And I know you're going to hate answering this question because it feels like a really, like, there's no certain amount.
Yeah.
But, like, in your opinion, around what point do you start getting at the level where you can pass internship interviews?
I'd say around 100 is sufficient. At that point, you're given exposure to all the different types of question topics, and you've done a few of every topic. And while you do the questions, it's also important to learn the concept rather than just trying to understand the particular solution to that question. I think that's definitely an issue or a mistake that people make when they try to memorize the solution to a given problem, but they don't understand the underlying data structure or algorithm that needs to be applied.
Because all questions are kind of just variations of other questions, right?
Yep.
They all just build off a certain...
I think around like 100 or 150, you really start noticing those trends and picking up the patterns and being able to very quickly determine, oh, this question's a graph problem, this is a dynamic programming problem, and so on.
Do you have any advice for people who are still, within that first 20 to 30 questions where you are in this stage where you're pretty much unable to answer most questions? You have to look up the solution, and it's really demotivating. Did you go through that as well?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely an initial demotivating period where you're not able to solve the problems effectively. At that point, I think the best approach is to just do easy questions. Don't even try touching the mediums. They may scare you a little bit. So just focus on easies, and it's okay to read the solutions, I think, after trying a question for 15 or 20 minutes. And if you feel really stuck, or if you don't know the fundamental data structures like hash maps, it may be worth taking a break and reading a book like Cracking the Coding Interview or something like that will actually give you the foundational skills rather than just jumping straight into solving leak code questions.
Makes sense. When did you get your first internship?
High school.
When you got your first internship, how many places did you apply to?
Well, see, sometimes you need to get lucky for the first internship. I didn't apply for this internship. It just came through chance. My family friend was starting a company and I got to work with them. So those sorts of things do help to get you some traction so that when you apply to more legitimate companies, you're recognized for your resume.
Okay. Well, what about your first... Because your first internship in college was American Express, right?
It was Workiva.
Oh. How many internships did you have to apply to for your first internship when you were in college?
Probably around 20 companies or so. I received it through the career fair at ASU, so yeah.
I've applied to almost 270 so far.
Yeah.
And
I said, sometimes you can get lucky. Going to the career fair is definitely the best approach. You'll be recognized and they'll keep your resume and actually email you back. Online portals can be like a crapshoot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm pretty sure the only reason I got my interview with Facebook was because of the career fair.
When I went to Facebook at the career fair, I never heard back from them. I just got lucky through a referral for my interview process, so...
Okay.
Yep.
please don't fuck. Oh, that low battery. It's pissing me off.
I mean, is it charging right now?
No,
it's not, right?
They can't charge while it
Okay,
records.
then.
All right, so a lot of people ask me, why did you choose Arizona State University? And my answer is usually just, I got the most scholarships and stuff here. But I wanted to ask you, someone who has been very successful in obtaining internships at, very prestigious companies, how much do you think the university you attend matters in getting internships?
I think it's definitely very feasible to get great offers, great internship offers while attending schools like Arizona State University. I mean, I know friends who are interning at Microsoft, Facebook, and companies like that this summer. At the end of the day, once your resume is accepted and you're given an interview, your performance is all that matters. They don't look at your university to differentiate and decide who to select as the winner for the offer.
But do you think the effort it takes to get into a prestigious school and the money it takes to attend, is that worth just being able to get an interview, in your opinion?
I mean, from the position I'm speaking from now, I don't think it's worth it. I'm definitely glad I didn't spend $240,000 to attend a prestigious university. But I do agree that I think if you do attend a university like that, you'll get the more prestigious company interviews earlier on in your college education. Whereas if you attend a state university, for example, it may take a few years of doing internships that aren't as prestigious to get to the point where you're recognized by the more prestigious companies.
How do you get the interview besides, obviously referrals are the best way, but is there a way you can pad up your resume besides having previous internships to get that first internship?
So this is a tricky one because there is kind of a catch-22 there where they want experience in order to give you more experience.
Right.
So one area clearly that everyone says is to just work on personal projects. I think that personally helped me a lot, where I created a personal project that gained quite a few hits on the internet, and I was able to put it on my resume, and it was kind of fun as well, so I could discuss it in a nonchalant manner with the recruiters, and they enjoyed that discussion. At the same time, this is kind of a trick that I found, is that if you're graduating, if you have a lot of credits coming into college and you have the possibility of graduating early, you may want to say on your resume that you're graduating earlier than you may actually be, because you never know, you may graduate a year earlier if you have the credits to do so, right? And companies at the end of the day, they want to have interns who they can eventually convert into full-time. So the closer you are or appear to be to graduation, the better your chances are to get an interview, I think.
So does that mean if you're a freshman who just entered college, but you're ahead in credits, it may be in your best interest to put a graduation date on your resume that maybe in 3 years, just so it appears that you're
especially if you truly do have those credits, there's no reason not to put it. You don't know yourself. In 2 years you may change your career plans and decide that you are going to graduate in 3 years, so you may as well play it safe and present yourself as effectively as possible to the companies.
Do you think being a freshman or a sophomore makes it a lot harder to get an interview? Do you get automatically rejected for something
Definitely,
like that?
100%. I remember as a freshman going to the career fair at ASU, when I went up to the American Express booth, I told them I was a freshman, and they said, come back to us in 2 years and then we'll consider you as a candidate. And then I saw them again a few weeks later, and I said that I was more of a sophomore standing at that point, and I moved on to the interview process. So it definitely plays an important role in deciding which candidates to consider.
What's the best way to get a referral for an interview?
I guess it helps when you start getting internships, you meet interns and other students who are like-minded to you and who are working hard to get these internships. And when they get the better internships, you can ask them for a referral, or they can offer it to you themselves. I referred several students at ASU to Facebook near the end of my internship.
Hear that, guys? Make friends at your internships. I made this one video, it was how college students are making $8K a year.
Uh-huh.
And so many people were asking me to interview them, and I feel like they were giving me questions. I just didn't actually read them. All right, I personally hate this question, but I know someone's going to ask it, so I'm just going to ask you it.
Okay.
What is the best programming language for coding interviews?
I think it's probably Python. There's pros and cons to each language. I personally use Java, and the reason I use Java is because I was most comfortable with it when I began doing LeetCode, and now I just know the ins and outs of all the data structures and how to use the libraries. But in Python, clearly, you can do things so much more quickly and in fewer amount of lines. So I think it's the preferred language, especially when you're whiteboarding and you want to move fairly quickly. At the same time, one caution with Python is that a lot of the times the functions are so abstracted that you don't quite understand the runtime of what you're doing, and interviewers will ask you what the runtime is of your solution. So as you're learning the libraries in Python, make sure to think to yourself, what is the runtime if I use this algorithm or approach? Just doubting whether it's...
Yeah, it's like a weird anxiety.
That is, I think, a justified anxiety.
Okay, it's good. Wait, why would it lock but continue recording? That's weird, right?
I don't know.
Do you think GPA matters in getting an internship?
I think it's good to have a fairly strong GPA. Anything above 3.5 is definitely more than enough. The companies aren't necessarily looking for a perfect 4.0 or anything like that. Your prior experience, your projects, and your passion for computer science and software engineering probably play a more important role at that point.
Do you think someone who has... Because I see this on CS career questions a lot. If someone has a 2.7 GPA and, no internships, are they fucked when they graduate? Well, what would you tell that person to do?
I mean, I don't think they're fucked personally.
No?
There's people who don't even go to university and they go to a boot camp for 6 weeks and they're able to market themselves. So why shouldn't you be able to? Just work on some projects, prepare on your own, learn the data structures on your own.
What is your opinion on going to college and getting a degree versus going to a boot camp? I know you're going to be a little biased because, you went to college and we're college students. But what's your opinion on the whole thing?
I've taken the traditional approach, and I personally believe that it makes sense to get a college degree because it provides some padding. Like if you are fired from whatever job you get following a boot camp, it's unclear what your job prospects are after that. But if you have a degree, you always have that foundation that you can point back to when you're applying to new companies. But of course, many people have found success applying and participating in boot camps. So I think that's also a very reasonable avenue to take.
Cool.
I don't really have any sort of input on that one because I don't know anything about boot camps.
Yeah, it's a bit heavy of a question. So you gave the advice to apply to as many places as possible. Where do you find these places to apply?
I think a great resource is the subreddit CS Career Questions on Reddit. All the students there are very dedicated and like-minded if you're looking for internships in college. So you can kind of read the threads there and get an idea of where people are applying, when the deadlines are passing, when the interviews are beginning. At the same time, oftentimes there's a list posted on that subreddit of just hundreds of companies to apply to, and you can just go through that list and apply to all of them. In fact, I believe there's a website, intern.supply, that was created by a former ASU student that has a list of a lot of these companies as well as links directly to
This is your website? Are you plugging
It's not my website. I wish it was, but it's not my website.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a very good list. It's a comprehensive list, so.
Cool. All right, so comparing your experiences at Facebook, Bloomberg, and Amazon, which internship did you enjoy the most?
I think there's a lot of components about the internship that people don't consider. Of course, there's the technical aspect, the project you're given. I really enjoyed my project at Amazon because I got to work on back-end technologies and learn about distributed computing, things I had not worked with in the past. At the same time, when you're doing an internship, you get to travel to a new location and discover the city there. So going to Bloomberg in New York was a great experience for just exploring the city while also working on very interesting technical problems at Bloomberg as well. I really liked Facebook because of the culture. It's truly a Silicon Valley company. It's a very fast-paced company. You learn a lot. You're writing code constantly, sending out code to production very quickly. So they all have their own facets that I've found enjoyable throughout these past few years.
Okay. How much harder is it to apply or interview with a company or a hedge fund such as 2 Sigma and Citadel or whichever ones you've interviewed with? How much harder is that compared to just Google or Facebook?
It's a tough question because at the end of the day, the interviews can really vary just based on day to day. Sometimes you'll get a very difficult question. Sometimes you'll get a relatively easier question. Of course, maybe the fintech companies may be looking for prior experience related to finance. Like I had done an internship at Bloomberg, so maybe that attracted them to me when I applied to 2 Sigma. But at the end of the day, there's not necessarily a massive jump in terms of difficulty between the companies.
Okay. I feel like I asked you more questions when I met you. I feel like I had a shit ton of questions when I met you. But it's so hard to be genuine on a camera.
Yeah.
I still struggle with this.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if I had a podcast and it went like this. Do you think having leadership experience in a club or like a computer science related club, do you think that matters at all? Or is that something people should do?
I think it helps definitely. I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt you, right? Leadership experience shows that you're a sociable person, you work well with others, which is very important for working in a work environment. At the same time, if it's a leadership position in computer science, like maybe you run the computer science club at your school, it shows that you're passionate about that. You're going above and beyond compared to your peers, and that's what recruiters are looking for.
Okay. How much easier is it getting internships once you've already had your first internship?
It helps a lot. Over my period of time at ASU, each year I see a significant increase in the amount of replies I get to my applications. The first year I probably got like 5 replies or fewer, and most of them were rejections. But most...
Yeah, fuck my ass. Oh. I think I get a solid, good 7 minutes in of a clip.
Yeah.
You think we're good?
Sure.